So what's the Grape Explorer talking about today? So one of my favorite areas in all of the world is Portugal. I love Portuguese wines, but there's a very special place that we want to talk about today, and this is a port or a Porto, and one of the oldest properties, if not the oldest property in all of a port is Croft. And how do we know that? Because if you look on the label, you can see it's 1588. That's when they started. I know that's an amazing bit of history that probably a lot of you out there don't know the history of port, and maybe you don't know where port is. So on this is our big map here, and right here you have a Porto in this kind of like pinkish like color here, flamingo looking color, and that is the Douro River exists here because that's where this area is really special. And, port's got a long history to it with, especially in England, because, at one time, because France and England were at war with each other, there was a blockade for French wines going into England, so they had to find another source. And this created the port market in England, and it's been history ever since then for port and the English, but we want to discover this wine here today. So we want to give a special thanks to Steve Remming, who represents Co-Brand to make this offering available for us to show and to taste. And if you look at the vintage on here, we want to show you the vintage. Oh yeah, we want to show you on the map. So exactly where this is located, it's called Quinta de Roeda, Roeda, and it's this is one of the cornerstone of Croft's distinctive house styles is the famous Quinta de Roeda, described as the jewel of port wine estates. The wines of this magnificent property, which contains some of the oldest vineyards in all the Douro Valley, are in the heart of Croft's vintage port blend. And of course, the main grapes here we want to talk about is Tourigas Francesa and also Tourigas Nacional. And those are the two grapes. We wanted to point that out here because you can see the proximity to the river. That's very important here. But yeah, this is a 2007, so it's kind of a treat. And again, we want to thank Steve, for making this available for us to showcase today. I've always loved ports. In fact, it's one of my favorite wines of all time. I used to buy a lot of older ports in England because they were one of the only places where you could find 63s and 47s and 45s. So, and when I rattle off these vintages, that's exactly what happens there. They declare a vintage, meaning every year they do not produce a vintage date on here. So you can see the 2007 clearly on this, but what we wanted to bring up is something interesting that a lot of people don't pay attention to. But if you do the math, this is 18 years old. So to me, this is the perfect gift for a grandchild or for a child that's turning 18. And probably one of the things that is very special is to give something of a birth year to anybody out there, a child or anybody that was born in 2007. So 18 is a milestone for a lot of kids out there. They're turning the cornerstone of their lives. So at 18, if you want to celebrate something, a port would be wonderful to do. And you can see the color on here. This is traditional port is aged in barrel for a minimum of at least 2 years. And but the soil composition here is granite, and they have terraces which have been carved out. This is one of the most historical vineyard areas in all of the world. So for years and years, they've been chipping away to make these steps, which go all the way down to the river, the Douro River. And this is granite, it's pure granite. So when you taste this wine, you do get a lot of that minerality. But when you smell it, you smell like, it's almost like smoke and ash, and you get that kind of volcanic soil, which is really haunting when you smell these wines. But this is that's only half the treat. So when you taste this wine, and I'm going to taste it right now, you're going to get like dried fruits and figs. And a creamy vanilla, raspberry, toffee. You get that nuttiness, like almost like walnuts or chestnuts. This is absolutely fabulous wine. And, that's the beauty of port, that you can age these wines for many years. You can put these wines down 40, 50, 60, depending on the vintage now. You got to look at the vintage. But 2007 here, this is a wine that's still quite young. And it's got a long way to go. So, 2007 wasn't a great year in Europe for a lot of wines. I can tell you Bordeaux was very rainy. Burgundy was probably not that great either. So if you're looking out there for a vintage dated wine to give as a gift to someone, a 2007 port is probably the way to go, because these are wines that, you don't necessarily have to have a person open it when they're 18. They can wait till they're 21. But at the same time, maybe it's something for the grandfather or the parent to share with their child and have a really nice glass of port. Again, this is David Cole, the Grape Explorer, always trying to find fun. I'm trying to make wine fun again, and think of this history. 1588. This is one of the oldest properties in Portugal, if not the oldest port house. Croft. Beautiful wine, 2007. Cheers.